going on, world? I'm your girl, Marky Lemons Rao, global keynote speaker, and I'm elated to be here today to be the moderator of this panel. Today, we are sponsored by none other than Homes.com, and we have Ryan Smith here with us.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Ryan Smith, Senior Business Development Executive out of Richmond, Virginia. Glad to be here.
Thank you for being here. And we also have Stephanie Younger.
Hi, Marky. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Stephanie Younger with the Stephanie Younger Group at Compass in the west side of Los Angeles.
And we also have Mike Lubin here with us.
Thank you, Marky. This is Mike Lubin from Brown Harris Stevens in New York City, covering Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Ryan, thank you for being the sponsor of today's session.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Homes.com, we're different than those other portals that are out there. And that's simply because we empower you, the agent, putting the agent first of every transaction and innovation. With that being said, that's because of our business model. You're listing your lead. We don't hide you as the listing agent. We don't sell those leads off to your competitors. You show up on 100% of your listings, and all of that traffic goes directly to you with our business model of your listing your lead.
Stephanie, you've built a significant portion of your business on a robust sphere of influence and geographic farming. Can you articulate the single most essential non-digital step you've took in your first 2 years to convert your acquaintance into loyal, referring fans?
I sure can, Marky. You know, I'm proud to say that I now have a team of over 40 agents, and we will sell more than 300 homes this year. But I obviously didn't start there. And so 23 years ago, when I first got into real estate, I didn't have an amazing platform like Homes.com to rely on. I didn't have a great influx of online leads. So I had to start somewhere. And so relationships, repeat, referral, my sphere have for all of these years accounted for, over 50% of my business. And so when I first got in the business, I was newly married, and I had a big wedding like a lot of young people do. And so I took my entire wedding invitation list, and I did a special mailer to that group of people. And I really did start my business by making sure that all the people who knew me and loved me, and who knew and loved my parents, and who knew and loved my now husband's family, that they knew what I was doing and that they knew that I was in real estate. So I started by sending a handwritten or a hand addressed card to each of them that announced my new venture. And really that's where I got started, selling homes to my best friends and to the people that knew me.
And you know what, if we go back in time, I'm always looking at the fact that because we came into the industry around the same time, they told us to write this list of 100 people. And today with these mobile devices, right, we should have all of the contacts right here at our fingertips to be able to do exactly what it is that you've done in order to build your business. Mike, leveraging your background in the service and entertainment industry, you treat clients to an experience like a special dinner after closing. What is the measurable ROI of this kind of personalized, high-touch follow-up beyond just the emotional goodwill?
That's such a good question. I'm so happy to be here amongst such wonderful panelists. So it's, in terms of my team, it's just myself and my associate. So we're lean and mean, but I would say over 75% of my business is referral based. And because I was a talent agent for 13 years, my client base has very much carried over from media into real estate. And there's a lot of overlap between the two industries. They're both creative, client service oriented business, where I like the term sort of gentle contact, checking in regularly, but also, of course, remembering the anniversaries when someone has purchased or sold a home, which is the perfect time to check in with someone that you've worked with. Sometimes doing that with children, if you've worked with a family or a single parent and they had a child during the experience, it's always nice to potentially remember that anniversary. And there are just so many ways that we can stay in touch. I did something That was kind of unique, and I wasn't sure about it. At the start of COVID, I took about 30 clients who I've worked with either on one significant transaction or multiple transactions, and I sent everyone a box of tea and a mug. We were all so anxious and nervous and so unsure about what was going on, and the response was just so genuine and lovely. That was something I really am proud of having done.
You know what? A fellow realtor sent me a red coffee mug in my favorite color with the tea, and I use it all the time. And I don't even know how she found out that I like tea, but it was a very thoughtful gift that I use consistently because most people still drink tea, and then you can have an assortment of flavors with honey,
Yes.
without honey. So just love the concept. Stephanie, your community events, such as your 4th of July water giveaway and arts and music festival, are high effort, high profile commitments. For an agent looking to scale from 0 to one impactful annual event, what is the minimum viable strategic framework to ensure that the event translates directly into qualified leads?
Mm.
Well, I love supporting my community. I donate a lot of money to the local YMCA and to the local schools, and I really have tried to become not just somebody who does a lot of business in the community, but who supports the community. And so I get I feel good about our ability to give back. And I don't want to sound like my giving back is all self-serving, but in order to be able to afford to give back over and over again, I have to be able to not only give but to get, and then get what I give what I get, right? So my kind of barometer for an impactful give is that it has to benefit somebody, and I need to have some kind of exposure around it. So I would always want to make sure that if I'm going to donate to a school, for example, that I'm going to get a banner or something on the campus, something where parents can see that in exchange for that. Even if I have to pay for the banner myself, if I'm going to make a donation to a school or a sports team or something along those lines, I want to make sure that there's some kind of visible sponsorship along with that. And I think that that's a really good practice. And so over time, I've been able to give more and more because my profile has increased more and more as a result of those donations. So, for example, my son played Little League Baseball. And so from the very beginning, I was a sponsor of the Little League Baseball team, and I had a banner in the outfield. And so I think those are little ways, it's not very expensive when you amortize that over a year to have a banner in the outfield of your Little League team. And I still have a banner to this day, even though my son is now 20 and hasn't played Little League for 10 years. I still have a banner out there in that outfield at every field in the community. So I would always start by making sure to find a way in your own community where when you make a sponsorship, you get some kind of profile or high profile opportunity in return. The other thing is I would always keep those banners extremely simple. Your name, big and visible across the field. A lot of people want to put a message on there, make an offer or a call to action. This is all just about brand visibility. So I would absolutely start there. And then, there are things like a parade or something that you can get involved with. And if you can't have a float that you could brand, then give something out at that parade. Buy 2,000 foam fingers, or what we do is we pass out 5,000 bottles of water, but we started with 500, and over the years we've increased that over time. So something where everybody gets that something in their hand to take away, and it's not something that produces business directly in a way that you can absolutely count in that moment. But over the years, when people say, I see you everywhere, or I've been getting your water at the parade, I don't even bring my own water anymore. Those are the kind of brand moments you're looking for.
Stephanie, when you're doing an event like passing out 5,000 bottles of water, how many people do you have that help you do that?
Well, that's another little trick. I mean, look, at the beginning, it was just me and my husband and a little red wagon. filled with bottled water. And then, as I could afford to give more water and have more people involved, I got more people involved. But at first I got my friends and the kids of my friends to volunteer their time to help me out. And now this last year, we had 70 people, our team, and lots of wonderful young people from our community, mostly teenagers and kids of my friends and kids of people in our local Facebook moms group. I always put an ad on there and say, hey, do any of your kids want to volunteer their time on the morning of 4th of July to pass out water at the parade? And then we give each of them a t-shirt with our branding on the front and the back. And they show up and work with us as a group to pass out this water to the community. And so we're trying to make sure that our branding is visible in all these places, on their shirts, on the bins that we use to pass the water out, on those bottles of water. We have pop-up tents to shade our team while we're, where we're working. So all the ways that you can imagine to put your branding up, I just want it everywhere.
Great idea. Ryan, Homes.com operates on a your listing, your lead model, a stark contrast to other platforms. How should agents, particularly in the luxury or high competitive segments, leverage this direct connection to not just close the current deal, but immediately initiate the long-term post-sale relationship?
Absolutely. And kind of back to what Stephanie was mentioning is, those traditional ways of staying in contact, the more personal things of, being involved in the community. But now the great thing is that with homes.com is, well, your listing, your lead, but then also we have our neighborhood content pages. So back to what you were saying about, kind of owning a neighborhood or, community, is we have those built out content pages where our members are featured on those pages. So really owning a neighborhood, being the face of that neighborhood. Our next big buyer seller cycles are going to be, millennials, future generations. They've grown up with the cell phones and the iPads and all of that. So, having a strong online presence is more important than ever. And we're going to feature you on those pages as a member, as a go-to agent. And then with your listing, your lead is, having you next to that listing that you earned and getting the contacts from that. And of course, having multiple listings in that specific area, your listing being promoted to the very top, you being recognized as a go-to agent for that specific area that you do majority of your business, especially if it's a luxury market that you really want to tap into or you're very successful in. We're showcasing that, unlike the other platforms that don't show you as the listing agent. So giving you the option or basically the ability to be the face of that area instead of on the other platforms they can't find you. On homes.com, we're gonna have it to where they can't miss you.
Wow. Mike, you successfully employ creative technologies such as AI-powered virtual staging to help buyers envision the property's potential. For an agent with a limited budget, what is the single most valuable piece of AI or automation technology they should invest in right now to create a competitive visualization edge for buyers?
Such a great question, because so many homes are staged these days, in person or virtually. I think it's so important that your online presentation really looks perfect. So before I list any home for sale in person, I'm generally doing paint touch-ups, maybe refinishing floors, bringing in new artwork, plants and flowers. But if there isn't the budget for that type of staging, in-person staging, we have such incredible technology these days. And we do always, of course, have a disclaimer that it's a virtual, it's a enhanced image. But, people have such short attention spans, and we know everyone is so busy and they're most likely searching on their phone for their new home. We have to capture them, and we have to represent natural light and a clean, fresh experience, which we know is not always the case for the actual property. So I've had wonderful success with just sometimes just very subtle virtual or AI enhanced staging, where even a simple paint color switch could really make a tremendous difference. I would say 100% of my homes are either staged in person or to some degree enhanced to demonstrate its potential.
I did a study last year and realized that when we see expired properties, either they failed to be staged, or they lacked furniture completely. And people have to be able to envision themselves living in that property, and visual attraction is still very important. So I'm glad that you are leveraging artificial intelligence to add those subtle touches to move properties faster.
Yes.
Stephanie, in the digital sphere, which social media platform is your most effective right now? And what one-to-many content strategy do you use that consistently moves passive followers into active leads and demonstrates or ensures that they schedule an appointment?
Well, we're very active on, all the platforms, but Instagram is really our primary place that we engage with our digital followers. And we have now over 26,000 followers on Instagram. It's a number we're very proud of, and we work really hard and pay a lot of attention to building that following and to engaging authentically with those people. So certainly we're constantly paying attention to the content that we're putting out, and getting our team involved in that, and trying to make sure that it's a very comprehensive strategy. It's not just putting up our listings, it's also showcasing what we do as a company for the community, showcasing what we do as a team with each other, and also just giving a little bit of an insight into fun we have and who we are as people. So we're really paying attention to that from a social media standpoint. But I will tell you, sometimes an oldie but a goodie is really where you can succeed. And my favorite and most effective digital tool is our email newsletter. And I have been sending an email newsletter out for more than 20 years. It's one of those things that I could afford to do when I was a new agent. And, I've gotten more consistent, more interactive, more professional over time with our delivery of our email newsletter. And now we have 2 or 3 weekly editions of our newsletter that we send out every single week. We send this to over 35,000 email addresses now, and we have a 28% open rate, which is quite good for email open rates. And part of it is that we're delivering content that we believe people want to pay attention to. But the other part of it is I've just been building that list of people over years and years and years and years. So starting with one email address and ending up with 35,000 of authentically collected addresses. Every person who's ever come to open house, every person we've ever met, every person that we've ever sold a home to, every person that's ever reached out to us. And we have a very low unsubscribe rate because we're delivering good content to them. And so I love email newsletter. It's like the cheapest, best, easiest thing to do to get in front of the people that know you, like you, and trust you already.
Stephanie, are you using ManyChat with your Instagram account?
No, we actually have somebody on our team who engages with them directly, and sometimes I do it when I'm on a plane. So you're going to get a real person responding to you.
Excellent. I'm loving the high level touch of it. For those who are just getting started, ManyChat might be a resource, as it will auto respond and send a direct DM. It's one of the ways, but my son is at a substantially lower price point, where he was able to generate 1,742 leads in 2024 just off of Instagram alone, and closed out 26 of those transactions. And so, but based on who your clientele is, that high level, high touch, and personalization, right, goes a long way. It definitely would be based on price point and level of expectation. Mike.
Well, and one thing I'll just add into that, Marky, is I do have somebody who manages our social media now. And while we engage with everybody directly and personally, we do use tools, and I don't know what it's called, so forgive me for that. But if you DM me open house on Instagram, you can get we can automatically send you a copy of our open house toolkit. So that's a great example of using automation, because I do speak a lot and talk a lot about the success that we have at open house. And so that's an example of, I think, what you're talking about, which is, we do have some tools in place to make sure that that information can be automatically sent to people. So feel free to DM me open house on Instagram, and you'll get our open house toolkit back.
And for those who might not be using technology but thinking about leveraging ChatGPT, one of the things that I do, it's especially as a 55-year-old woman, right? And definitely going through menopause. With that being said, it's always about leveraging this device. If you're at an open house and you do not have an open house tool, I highly recommend that you take a picture of the sign-in sheet. You
Yes.
load that photo to ChatGPT and ask it to extract the text from the image. Therefore, you can copy and paste this content now into your customer relationship management system instead of being mad after the open house trying to figure out how they spelled their name. So for me, I'm always taking pictures and asking it to extract the text from the image. Even if I'm in Home Goods and see this great quote that I know I'm not going to remember, and I don't have to go home and type it, right? I'm able to extract the text from the image. Mike, you mentioned the importance of being a service professional and thinking about the needs to match the client's communication style. Can you describe the process of instantly assessing a client's personality and preferred communication rhythm and how you adjust your service delivery accordingly?
That's another great question. And first of all, I also have to say, I love that ChatGPT suggestion, extracting text. I never thought to do that. So thank you for sharing that with us.
You're
Um,
welcome.
I think it's so important as a realtor to know how to sort of quote, read the room and cater to our customer, our clients' style of communication, and also their overall personality. There's some of our clients want to be very involved and are very numbers oriented and comps oriented, and others, really want to be more deferential to us and handle the process as we see fit. So I think it's very important early on to ask pointed questions when you do have that first meeting or the second or third meeting. Do you like, so typically on a Monday, I'm going to send a weekly report, how many showings we had, feedback. I'll include stats from online listing activity. And truthfully, everyone who I work with really appreciates getting that update. But there are people who also want to have a call and want to analyze it with me, want me to come over and walk through it. So I just think it's so important to actually ask the client directly, what is your preference for communication? Would you like to have a weekly check-in call? And for clients who do like that extra high touch, I have found that to be very effective. I have 2 or 3 standing weekly calls with sellers where we are able to go through the current status. And it's actually incredibly helpful for me. They appreciate the updates, but it's an opportunity for me to hear from them. How are they feeling in the process? How are they feeling about potentially adjusting the price? Is there anything they'd like me to do differently? Communication is such an important aspect of this job.
When I think about bridging the gap or being inclusive, often people instantly start thinking about race, and I don't mean that. What I love to do is use humantic.ai, which is going to assess the person's DISC profile. And we're now tagging them in our customer relationship management system and have multiple versions of the same message. So humantic.ai will do that with an X account, email communication, and or LinkedIn account. And as I keep continuing to talk to people in their preferred communication style, I'm also thinking about their learning style. So there's a tool called Notebook LM where I'm taking that content and I'm turning it into content for the visually impaired, the audio impaired, and the 1 in 5 adult learners who are neurodivergent learners. And I honestly believe that number is higher than 1 in 5. And the reason I believe that is if a person never gives a teacher any problems, oftentimes if they're an introvert, they might not get tested. Therefore, we might not know. But what Notebook LM is going to do is take whatever that piece of data, turn it into a 2-person podcast, a video, mind map, FAQ, blog post, proposals. So then I can not only communicate with them in their preferred communication style, which can increase your sales by 15%. I'm able now to send them content in their preferred learning style, doing the things that other people don't do, but I like for people to be able to get it. And with artificial intelligence, we're able to implement all of these very cost-effective strategies to deepen the relationship, kind of like being the person who gets them, like, oh, she got me, right? Stephanie, you mentioned sending an anniversary gift, a bottle of champagne after the transaction closes. Why, and you mentioned about the cadence in which you do this. Why is delaying this gift a strategic move? And what 2 other mandatory client touch points are in your customer relationship management process during, a 12 to 36 month period of time?
Well, I know that it's very customary for agents to give a gift to their client at the close of escrow. But for us, they're, twofold. One is that people are sometimes moving, they're not in their permanent location yet. And so giving them something at their home on that day of close of escrow sometimes is more of a burden than a benefit, because they have to figure out what to do with it. They've got to actually move it. And they've got a lot going on at that moment in time. And so we give them some little touch points throughout the process. When we first meet a client, we have a little kind of welcome to our team gift. We have a little kit that we bring to our inspection day that has a tape measure, a little flashlight, some snacks. So, we're giving them some little things to remember us by throughout the process. At the close of escrow, we give them kind of a useful collection of the things that they might need in that empty house the very first day, like hand soap or paper towels, just the things that, like you get to your empty house and there's nothing to wash your hands with or wipe a counter with. So we're doing some of these little practical things, and they don't sound very luxurious or enticing. But we just feel like the client has a lot on their plate at the moment. And then what we do at the 1-year anniversary is we surprise them with a beautiful bottle of champagne in a branded bag. And it's a way to keep in touch with them. Obviously, we all want to stay in touch with our client, but at that 1-year mark, they're just starting to kind of forget about anything that was difficult in the transaction. They're really starting to enjoy their property. And that's the point where you want to make sure that you are still on their mind as much as you were when you sold them the house. And so it's a great way to reconnect with people and keep yourself top of mind, not just as someone that they might want to use again in the future, but also somebody that they might want to refer to their friends and family. So that's why we like that touch point of the 1-year anniversary. The other thing we do is that everybody gets a little gift from us at the holidays. So we send to everyone who bought a house from us in that year, we send them an automatic wine opener. One of those, like, kind of, it looks like a rabbit wine opener, and battery operated. And we send that to every single person. And I will tell you, I've gone into a lot of homes of our past clients, our friends and family, and that thing is sitting on their counter where their bar is or where they keep their wine. And it's got it's discreet, but it's got our brand on it. And I'm always looking for ways to keep our brand in front of people in their day-to-day activity. When I was first in the business, I was a big door knocker, and I delivered notepads along with when I knocked on doors, because I felt like the notepad really stuck around. And recently I realized that if I'm not door knocking all the time, people are running out of notepads. So a few months ago, we just delivered a notepad to everybody in the farm. So we just want to make sure that we are staying in front of people all the time.
I'm laughing because my favorite thing to give away back in the day was the refrigerator magnet until everybody got a stainless steel refrigerator. And then a couple of them still had a side panel. So I moved to the side panel. And now it seems like people are finding them in their drawer because it was the conversion chart, the kitchen conversion chart. And they'll take a picture and send it to me. And they'll be like, you're not on the refrigerator anymore, but you're still in the drawer. And I'm like, well, thank you very much. So they appreciate those items.
Yeah.
Ryan, agents frequently struggle to clearly demonstrate their value proposition to secure referrals from past clients, a problem that is compounded by the fact that 80% of clients forget their agent's name. What specific tools or data set within Homes.com offerings can an agent use to send a proof of performance updates to past clients that can trigger top of mind recall and potential referral action?
Absolutely. I think one of them kind of right off the bat is we have our contact targeting with our membership. And that's where you can take your database, your CRM, your contacts, past clients, upload their contact information, just name and email address into the homes.com dashboard. And now we can run ads in front of them all across the web for your listings. So you have a new listing. Now that listing will pop up in front of them on their favorite websites, thousands of websites, the biggest ones out there, ESPN, CNN, the Weather Channel, Facebook, Instagram, and now just keeping you top of mind. Obviously makes you look like the awesome agent that you are, being on the top of those platforms and staying top of mind. But just the ability to, like I said, stay in front of them throughout the entire time, even if it's somebody you sold a home to 10 years ago. Now your ads are popping up in front of them on those platforms, keeping you top of mind. I mean, yes, it's also driving traffic to that listing, but they decide to buy or sell, they've been seeing you. It's just those additional touch points all across the web, on their favorite websites. Because we do retargeting also, which is very similar, but it's not uploading your contacts. It's somebody going to homes.com, searching in your area. Now they go onto their favorite sites and your listings popping up in front of them everywhere. Retargeting is very impactful because it's, why does consumers go to these real estate platforms like homes.com? It's because they're looking at homes for sale. And now you're in front of them, your listings in front of them. So it's putting those ads in front of the right person because that's why they were on homes.com. And now you're there, your listings there. So kind of ways to facilitate new business, but then also stay in front of, past clients and friends, family, and, whoever would want to do business with you.
So I'm going to ask this final question. We've covered high touch tradition and high tech efficiency. If you could give the audience one final non-negotiable action, a single rule to implement today that you believe separates a $100,000 agent in GCI from $1 million GCI producer, what would that one rule be? And Stephanie, we'll start with you.
Boy, you're making me choose one, Marky.
Just one, the best
Just one. I think the most important high touch thing that we have done over many years has been making sure that that exceptionally good open houses are a part of our toolkit, because obviously I want to do business with people who know me, like me, and trust me. But I also don't want to wait for my sphere to be ready to buy a house. And so open houses put me face to face, belly to belly with buyers, with sellers, with people who live in my market, and with just people who want to kick the tires, more than any other tool over the years. And I think it's one of those things that cannot be replaced by AI. And that buyers still want to do, and they want to do on their own. And it's a safe space for buyers to get to know an agent, to get to know a specialist in the area, and to get to know the process of buying a home. And so being really good at open house and being willing to do it, even if just one person comes in, That I think is an incredibly important tool that everybody should put in their toolkit, and don't discount it as a building block for your business.
Yeah.
Now, Stephanie, as I recall, you don't just do any old ordinary open house. So can you give the audience a few steps on how you're implementing these very effective experiences?
Well, there's two kinds of open houses we do on our team. One would be just a standard Sunday open house, and those have a lot of rules around them, if you will. We have a multi-page process that we train all of our agents on, and open house really does start several hours before the open house. In fact, it starts days before, with your door knocking around the neighborhood, with your social posting, with getting yourself ready. Each of our agents has an open house kit that it's pre-packed. It's the standard thing. It's like an emergency box for everything you could possibly need, from pens to sign in with, to door stops to hold doors, to tape just in case, to a first aid kit, all of the things that you could need if you're standing there in somebody else's home for 4 or 5 hours. So we really do pay attention to how we hold open house from start to finish. Every open house has music, has bottled water, and has cookies, because I want every house to feel like the kind of house you'd want to entertain in. I want every house to feel good and welcoming. And if you have like a little giveaway, like a cookie or a bottle of water, people slow down and they come back around, and they give you just like an opening to get in there and talk to them. It's hard for them to sort of give you that, like, I don't want to talk to you, when they're actually taking a cookie. You've given them an item of value. The other version of open house we do is what we call experiential open houses. And this is where we perhaps have a high-end open house, or a house that's got some sort of interesting notoriety, or it's in a neighborhood that we're not familiar with, and we're trying to get to know more people. And we turn this into a special event. My background before I got into real estate was in event planning, and so I've always recognized the benefit of special events as a way to bring people in and make people feel excited and comfortable. And I firmly believe that people want to buy what other people want to buy. And so the more people I can put in a house, the more I'm going to give that illusion, or support the truth of the value of that property and the demand for that property. So one example is this year in January, we had a new listing that had been relisted. It expired with another agent, and they couldn't sell it. We relisted it at a better price, meaning a higher price, actually, higher price for the seller. We restaged it and represented it, and we had a huge event that we called New Year, New House, New You. And in addition to this beautiful home, we had a kombucha truck with kombucha on tap. We had massage chairs, we had healthy bites, and we had music. And so it was just like a wonderful event that brought a lot of people in. And interestingly enough, one of our own clients saw the invitation to the event on social media and came to the house, because they actually have a fitness business, and they realized that this was a house they could have their own fitness studio in, at their home, and they were not even looking for a home. And we ended up selling that house to our own client because it was just perfect for them. It was, a new year and a new house and a new them.
Wow, I love it. Mike, what about you? The one thing.
Yes, I would say having flawless media, having a perfect presentation, which means a professionally drawn, elaborate floor plan that is very easy to read, beautiful photography that could be in a design magazine like Architectural Digest, where it's beautifully produced and editorial in nature, a listing video that is also very professionally done, and making sure that you're including the text that the owner approves, and making sure that we're highlighting any of the special details of their home, really having a perfect presentation, I think, for every listing, even if it's at a lower price point, really elevates the experience and is something that's very impressive to the client, but then of course as well to the public.
Wow, I love it. Can visual people, right? But the joy of this today is that we can also take all of this content and repurpose it. For me, it's long been putting out more video content than any of my competitors, only
Yes.
because I know that I can repurpose one piece of content now into so many different forms, whether that's going to be a podcast, blog post, and then communicating with people in their preferred communication style, which is what I learned as a pharmaceutical sales rep working at Pfizer. When I showed up at their campus, they said, "Hey, Marky, it's not about you. It's all about the doctor, and we need you to be like a chameleon. You have to pivot your personality to the person in which you're selling to. And it doesn't mean that you aren't authentically you. It means that you recognize that everyone is different, and this is an experience for that person." Ryan, what is one tool at homes.com that you believe maybe we haven't talked about that allows us to truly differentiate ourselves and provide that $1 million GCI strategy?
It's really tough to choose one, but I can kind of like tie it all together. I would have to say maybe either the Matterport or the listing presentation. You know, majority of your business comes from referrals, your sphere, your network, not just, online portal leads, which those other platforms, those other real estate platforms, that's pretty much all they deliver, because they're kind of hiding your brand. They're not showing you as the listing agent. And we have our listing presentation tool that shows the retargeting, the contact targeting, the boosting of the listing, all of those benefits of how you have that listing seen more and sold quicker. And I think it's really wowing your sellers or, your sphere to get that referral business, you staying top of mind, you going above and beyond to have their listing seen everywhere with that retargeting and the boosting of the top of homes.com and you being seen as, a #1 agent or top producing agent, especially in those neighborhoods that you care the most about and do the most business in. So I would probably have to say those with the Matterport and the listing presentation of really wowing your seller, your client, because that's what's going to make them give a referral. They had a great experience, you went above and beyond for them. So now they want to refer you so that, their friends and family have the same experience that you offered them.
Well, Ryan, we want to thank you and homes.com for sponsoring this session. Is there anything you want to say in closing?
Yes. So we're based off of your listing, your lead under the CoStar Group. That's our business model across all of our platforms. But we truly promote you, your brand, your listing, have you seen more, sold quicker when it comes to your listings. And we are the fastest growing portal out there. We're actually #2 in traffic. Having an online presence is more important than ever because, like I mentioned earlier, your next big buyer seller cycles are going to be those millennials and future generations that grow up with this technology. And is now said that 100% of home shoppers start their search online. So having that strong online presence is more important than ever. And a lot of these things that we do for you with the retargeting and keeping you top of mind is important, but also doesn't take away from your day-to-day. We want you to do what you do best. That's sell homes and connect with clients, not sit in front of a computer and put together ads and all that kind of stuff. And so we do that for you. And that's the great part about homes.com is we're building your brand and having your listings seen more and sold quicker.
Thank you, everyone, for your attention to detail today and providing information that will transform the business of other licensed real estate professionals. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you all.
Thank you.